Imagine an experiment so horrifying that its only purpose was to bring the dead back to life, to help humankind defeat death itself. And the result of this obsession with immortality was Frankenstein. You've probably heard of this monster before, but what if I told you he wasn't really a monster at all? In fact, he was actually a pure vegetarian. Once you learn his real origin and where he came from, it will blow your mind. So today, we're going to uncover the real story of Frankenstein and find out whether he ever truly existed. We'll also explore how one man's madness started it all. Welcome to our ancient series called Evil Breakdown. In the first episode, we exposed every secret behind IT, and now it's time for Frankenstein. Or should I say Frankenstein? Don't worry about pronunciation, just feel the emotion. So get ready. Because we're traveling to a dark night filled with thunder and lightning, when Frankenstein was coming to life. The answer to this mystery lies in an experiment that should never have been performed in human history. Many people today believe that some real-life Frankenstein experiment happened long ago, the same one that inspired movies and cartoons we watch today. But the truth is much darker and far from simple. This dark story begins in 1817, the year when an experiment took place that gave birth to Frankenstein. In 1818, the world saw the first publication of Frankenstein, written by Mary Shelley. In her novel, a scientist named Victor Frankenstein tries to defeat death and creates a strange living being, but the time, hatred, and rejection of society turn that creation into a monster. However, this novel wasn't just fiction. It was a reflection of the terrifying scientific obsession of that time. During the early 1800s, Europe was in the Age of Enlightenment, when humans began to see themselves as gods, trying to unlock the secrets of life and death. People believed that some formula or vital force could bring the dead back to life. With electricity, chemicals, and human bodies, strange experiments were being performed, all in search of immortality. In 1817, a German neurophilosopher named Carl August von Holl conducted an experiment that closely resembled Frankenstein's story. He removed the brain of a dead kitten and replaced it with two metal plates, one zinc and one silver. Then he gave it an electric shock. To everyone's horror, the kitten's eyes opened. Its body twitched. It stood up for a few seconds, and then fell down dead again. That horrifying sight gave people hope that electricity could revive the dead. But this was not the only experiment. Across Europe, another theory was spreading like wildfire: galvanism, named after the Italian scientist Luigi Galvani. In the 1780s, Galvani discovered that when electricity was applied to a dead frog's leg, it twitched as if alive. To ordinary people, this was no less than black magic. And it made scientists believe that electricity might be the key to life itself. These experiments and discoveries in Europe inspired Mary Shelley to write Frankenstein. But no scientist had ever tried such an experiment on a human. So how did Mary come up with this terrifying idea? The answer lies in the story of George Foster, the man whose death laid the foundation for the Frankenstein legend. The year was 1817, the date December 5th, and the place London. George Foster was seen walking with his wife and daughter near a canal. The next morning, a man rowing his boat in the same canal felt something hit his boat. When he looked closely, he saw a dead body floating in the water. It was George Foster's daughter. Soon, his wife's body was found too. Foster was immediately arrested for their murders, put on trial, and sentenced to death by hanging. After his execution, his body was handed over to a famous scientist for experimentation, a man named Giovanni Aldini. On a cold January night, Scientists, journalists, and scholars gathered to witness Aldini's shocking experiment. He connected Foster's corpse to a powerful electric battery, placing electrodes on his face. Seconds later, Foster's jaw moved, his eye opened, and his body began to jerk violently. The sight was so terrifying that people screamed and ran. Some fled halfway through the experiment. Aldini hadn't actually brought Foster back to life. His muscles were simply reacting to the electric current. But the scene was so horrifying that one of Foster's close friends, who had earlier pleaded for leniency, was so shocked he died of a heart attack on the spot. The experiment failed, but the story spread across Europe, eventually catching Mary Shelley's attention. Inspired by these real events, she wrote her legendary novel, Frankenstein. So now,
Frankenstein wasn't real. He was a fictional character. But was he truly a monster? As shown in movies? In truth, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein wasn't just a horror story. It was a deep philosophical reflection that questioned both science and religion, and laid the foundation for modern science fiction. At first glance, it may seem like a monster tale, but when you read deeper, you realize Frankenstein's creature wasn't evil. He was intelligent, emotional, and lonely. He was never the real monster. Humans were. Because Frankenstein wasn't the name of the creature, it was the name of the scientist, Victor Frankenstein, who created him and then abandoned him. Rejected by society, denied love and compassion, the creature became what the world called a monster. Movies later turned him into a huge, bolt-necked, stumbling giant. But in Mary Shelley's book, he was much more horrifying and tragic. He didn't crave violence. He only wanted love. He was, believe it or not, a vegetarian and deeply intelligent. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was the first story of its kind, the true origin of the legend. And it teaches one powerful lesson. The real monster is not the creation. It's human behavior. Mary's own life was filled with tragedy. Her mother died giving birth to her. Her children died young, and her husband drowned at sea. That deep loneliness shaped the creature she wrote, a being who was also completely alone. So, the story of Frankenstein's origin ends here. I hope you enjoyed.